Lane, a place where kids would go to park, and there they are, their faces in the wet grass, and they've both been shot execution style on the back of the head. David is 17 years old. Loretta is 18 years old. And the whole emotions of the town are straight, people are in trauma. Who could do such a thing to kill two innocent kids? And their parents send their prom picture into the local newspaper. And there they are, beautiful, standing there in a happy moment in their life. And there's the terrible headline, teenagers found murdered. By the time I look and find that knowledge of those two kids, I had already begun to visit a man on death row and his brother. His name is Patrick Sonier. Why did I visit him on death row? Because I was living there among poor people in St. Thomas. There was a prison coalition office. A friend of mine one day said, "Hey, Sister Helen, you want to be a pen pal to somebody on death row?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I was an English major. I could write some nice letters to somebody on death row. I don't even know what the person has done. But I know they're sitting on death row in Louisiana. They're poor. I'm there to serve poor people. I know nothing about the legal system, know nothing about the courts, know nothing about nothing. And I have begun to visit the two people who killed those two kids that night. But first, the part of the journey that I take you on in the book is to visit them. And I meet them. And I was shocked. When I first saw the face of Patrick Sonier, I didn't know the crime yet. But I thought if somebody murdered somebody, their face somehow would look a little different. You see these terrible mug shots of people glaring like that, and their eyes are like flint, the jaw is set. And then when the guards did bring him in, the man who was writing the letters, I was shocked because I could not believe how human his face was. It was shocking to me. And he was smiling. And that he's a human being. And then I found out about the crime and the kids who had been killed. And everybody was Catholic in this situation. The Soniers, me, the nun, the son of the Borks who lost their daughter, the LeBlancs who lost their son. And I remember then when I realized what they had done, I remember thinking, this is every parent's worst nightmare. I ought to go see those parents. But I was scared. Because I thought, well, I'm the spiritual positive who want to kill the kids. They're not going to see me. They're going to be filled with rage and anger. They're going to be so bent on getting the death penalty, they're bound to see me as an enemy. What, you're going to show spiritual consolation to these two people who killed our kids? Nobody was there for my son in the last hours of his life. The rage would so take over them. So I stayed away from them. I didn't do anything. I didn't write them a note. I didn't call them. I didn't visit. I didn't do anything. And when I met them at the worst possible time you could meet a victim's families if you want to talk about dialogue, because it was at the pardon board hearing 1 week before Patrick was executed. Patrick had gotten the death penalty. His brother got life. When you read Dead Man Walking, you see how complex all that is. Because that was my first legal question. How could there be a murder, one brother gets death, one brother gets life? How did that happen? And their case is more complex than this. But did you know if there are two defendants and there are no other witnesses, if one gives state's evidence against the other, they get a reduced sentence for saying that? And how do we know we're coming to truth? From square one, how do we even know? But when the rage takes over that we got to get somebody, it all fades. As long as we got somebody to point to the other and we can get somebody. Because almost like the rage of the community is demanding to get somebody who did this terrible thing. And it was a pardon board hearing. That was where I met the victim's family for the first time. And of course it couldn't be more polarized because they've been told, bring all your friends, bring all your relatives, because this is when you're going to get your justice. And your justice means that we're going to get death for the one who killed your child, and that is going to give you your justice. And they get bent toward it, and you can understand why they're in trauma. Who wouldn't be? You can ourselves in the place of Bob Carroll and a son killed. And so he was for the death penalty. He's making these public statements. Yes, of course I'm for it. I'm his father. And that's when I met him. And it was outside the building while the pardon board was voting. And the Board family was so furious at me. They had lost their daughter. And they just, we were walking toward each other, and they just averted their gaze and they walked past me in a stony silence. Maybe they were afraid they'd lose control. Who knows? They had every reason to be angry at me. And right behind them was the other family. It was Lloyd LeBlanc and his wife, Eula. They had lost their only son, David. As Lloyd later explained to me, our family name died with David. I almost lost my life here. We had to move David's grave close to the house so every day she could visit the grave. I had never in my life encountered such sorrow and such loss. There was an ancient prayer to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and it was, "Great as the sea is thy sorrow." I had never met people who suffered so much. And here comes Lloyd LeBlanc now with his wife, and I expect the same anger. And he walks right up to me and he says, "Sister, I'm Lloyd LeBlanc. This is my wife. You all this time you've been with those two brothers wasted, and you never once came to see us." He said, "You can't believe the pressure we've been under with this death penalty thing." Well, I didn't know victims' families aren't in any kind of pressure. I thought any victim's family, culture enters in here now, where you have the penalty. Well, of course you're going to go for the penalty. And he said, "Sister, I'll pray in this little chapel. Come pray with me. I'm a Catholic. Come pray with me." He was the gracious one, and he is the hero of Dead Man Walking. And as I tell you something of his story, you know why I'm saying that. Not me, I'm a storyteller. I've done it all along. I stayed away from them out of fear and out of cowardice. But I go, and I kneel alongside a man who has lost his only son. And we are praying together. And I realized as he prayed that his heart was already moving out. Of course he prayed for his son to be at peace with God. He prayed for Eula to keep her mental health, to hold it together. They could be there for their daughter Vicky and their grandchildren. But he also prayed for Mrs. Sonia Patton and his mother, the mother of the killers in the town. She couldn't even go into the grocery store because she could overhear people saying, "There she is, that white trash woman. Her sons killed the Bourke and the LeBlanc children." She becomes like a little hermit. People are cutting up dead animals and throwing them on the front porch. How do you tell a town, hate them, but don't hate that mother?